Make we talk about envy and jealousy. These are two very similar concepts where they overlap sometimes. We they use them interchangeably sometimes, but they're different. The difference they're very small, but they different and they confuse us sometimes. So because of that confusion, I say make I do some small research into the topic so that I could feel really get like very clear understanding of what they be. You know that kind where you dey feel like I understand there's no need to really go into it and it's a very small thing, you know. So I never really ever go into these two things to say make I understand them really for what they mean differently. But I do because of this conversation, this conversation, and I find out say both of them, even though they're similar, envy they reveal to us something where we no get in the moment. We dey see am from that person life, and we feel like say we like we feel like say we go like get you know. That one are envy. But jealousy now when we already get the thing or we feel like say we already get that thing. But now with the worry say another person fit go get too, you know. So in as much as I realize in as much as these concepts they confusing and we dey use them interchangeably, somewhere inside us it be like say we kind of understand them. You know, the understanding not just they come with clarity. Because if you hear about relationships, when one partner not they faithful, when one partner is unfaithful, you go hear people talk say the other partner they jealous and protective, you know, of their relationship. So they are jealous that someone else is coming into the picture. So we know they ever use envy for that context. So that shows that we kind of understand it, but the envy part, I guess it confuse us sometimes. You know, maybe it's just me though. Well, I feel like not be just me because I don't get conversations with some people and I the sense okay, there's not a lot of clarity when it comes to understanding what these two words mean, right? But yes, from the research I get to see say envy now when you know get the thing and you go like get jealousy now when you get the thing, but you they worry say somebody else who could get too. You know, there is this sense of comparison in there. There is this subtle, quiet competition in there. There is this feeling of, you know, you receiving some kind of threat from another person. It's a perceived threat. You know, if you never even dey see them, if you never experience them, if you never get any strong proof, you know, could be real, could not be real, but you know, that are pretty much the mind state where they separate jealousy from envy. Jealousy they in defense mode, sort of, you know, trying to protect what they already have. And envy, they look to say, I like get this thing. I don't get them yet, but I like get them. So that are the difference. So what does this say about us? Are we are we inherently bad people because we dey get this kind thoughts? Does it make us terrible people? You know, I don't think so. I don't think the thoughts that we have necessarily define us because your mind na this free wild entity where go do things by itself, right? Thoughts go come in and thoughts go go out. You know, at the end of the day, your thoughts go they largely dependent on your environment, your relationships. So you can galvanize it to a degree, you know, by the kind of relationships you're in, by the kind of environments that you put yourself in. But it does not mean that you can control it to a T because you go still go into the world, right? You go still enter other spaces, you go still find yourself for different organizations, right? In the midst of different people where you don't necessarily agree with on all counts, you know, and those interactions go stay for your mind subconsciously, and it could be part of the raw materials where go create the thoughts where go they go through your mind. So I don't think the kind of thoughts that we have necessarily make us bad people. It's what we do with the thoughts that we have, you know, how we react to those thoughts. That is what then define us. The talk say you are not necessarily defined by who you are when everything is rosy. You are more defined, or the work that you do on yourself is more, did I say, or the work that you've done on yourself is reflected when there is actual adversity, right? Or some a perception of adversity. Now it go show say, okay, the way you respond to situations like this don't change. Where previously, if something like that happens, your reaction is you dey match that energy, it's chaos, it's war, it's fight, and you mess up your whole nervous system because of that. But because of the work that you've done, now if something like that happens, your response is different. You are more centered, you are more level headed in the way that you manage it, and they say that is what defines you. Your reaction when things are imperfect, not your reaction when things are perfect. So when you feel jealous, do you become vindictive? Do you become controlling? Do you become insecure in your response, in your reaction to that situation? Or do you remind yourself in those times that what is yours will always be yours? No matter what is lurking behind the scenes, no matter what is staring you in the face, what is yours will always stay yours at the end of the day. When you feel envious, when you look at a situation and you look at a person and you think that's beautiful, I would like to have that in some sense. I would like to embody that to some degree or in to some level. When you feel that, do you become covetous? Do you become covetous? You know, like this, begin this snarl or gnarl, I don't know the word. Like this, do you become like this hunter that just wants to take it at at any cost? Do you become resentful of the person who has it? Do you become resentful of the fact that this person has it and you don't? Do you become hostile in your reaction, in your response to this thing that you've become aware of, that you see that you want? Or do you become inspired by the possibility? Do you look at it and think, so this is possible, it is possible to embody this? you know do you look at it, do you see it as an inspiration, and use that inspiration as a guide for your own life, to help you embody that too in your own way, as long as moving in that direction is in alignment with your own mission, your own purpose, and whatever it is you're doing or wherever it is you're headed. You get, that is what defines you at the end of the day. That is what really shows you the kind of person that you are: destructive, constructive, competitive, collaborative. It's in those moments that you create yourself. You get, you could have been one person previously, all through your life. It's in those moments that you get to recreate yourself if you don't like who you've been. It's in these moments that you get to recreate yourself and become the new person that you want to be. So if you envy a trait in a person, don't become resentful. Learn from the person, ask them questions if you need to, and try to embody that. There is in your most ideal expression, you will not become a replica of that person. You get, it means that you're not really doing the work. You will instead find a way to integrate it into who you already are. and the way that you already show up in the world, you would take that, and incorporate it to yourself. You would not clone the person or become like a duplicate of that person. That would not be the ideal expression of it. But you can ask them questions, learn from them. You can even let them know if I'm actively learning this thing from you. So if you have pointers that can help me get there, please share those pointers. And then if you find that you are jealous, just accept that there are some things about you that are admirable, that are worth admiring. And if something is admirable, then people would like that. People would want that for themselves too. At the end of the day, I feel like if you are someone who is you're consciously doing certain kinds of work on yourself to be a certain kind of person, I believe that part of the reason you are doing that is because you think that if more people in the world behave that way, the world will be a better place, right? So if that is true, I think it makes sense for you to be open to people learning those behaviors from you. For to be okay for people to look at you and think, I like this thing. I want to incorporate this thing into my life. And I think when you see that happening, it should be something that you encourage, as long as that person is not doing it in a way that is sort of what you'd say weird. But even then, if the person is doing in a way where you like say that they won't clone you, I think personally, if I'm in that scenario, I would want to watch first and see if it's like just Twitter people go say skill issue. So skill issue meaning, is it that the person just does not really know how to incorporate this thing, or what it means to incorporate? Is it that the person just doesn't understand the proper way, the ideal way to use this thing? Or is it that this person is really just after me, guns blazing? Is it war, or is it just a lack of understanding? You know, and if it's a lack of understanding, then I can show up, try to show up in some way that in some way that I can offer guidance to this person. There is a scene in Suits. For those who don't watch Suits, there is a scene in Suits where Harvey look Mike with the well-tailored suit, but particularly with his well kept hair. He could ask him, did they try to look like me, Abby? And he was caught red-handed in that scene, right? But over time, you could tell that he slowly morphed into himself. So whatever it was that he saw in Harvey that he liked, the excellence that he saw, over time he learned to embody that in a way that felt original to him without having to, be exactly Harvey. So you would look at both of them and you would tell that, okay, these two men are well kept, are well put together, but they are not the same. It does not look like one is necessarily rubbing off on the other. They are just two amazingly well put together individuals. You get, but if you spend enough time with the both of them, over time you begin to see how this one's personality actually bled into this one, and this one personality, influenced this one. So I guess I would try to figure out first if it's just a honest misunderstanding or actual guns blazing, if it's actual war. But ultimately, I think if your ideas that you think are good for the world, if they are spreading, maybe it's something to actually applaud. you know Humility is good. So sometimes we may struggle to accept that we have things about us that people want to learn, that people want to learn from. But part of that humility is accepting that we too, You get sometimes even in your position where people they learn from you. You get sometimes where you dey see people too and you be like, I like this. I would like add this thing to all these things when I know. And you too they learn from people. And really that's just how the world works. It just keeps going back and forth and back and forth. We just keep sharpening each other up until, as a group we get to this place that we are trying to get to. You get so yeah. That's not the matter for envy and jealousy. When I was younger, I know say I kind of understood, what they meant, just the way it was commonly used. But when it comes to actual clarity, you know, about what they meant and how they are expressed, I'm not sure say I really get them back then. So yeah, hopefully this one don't feel offer some clarity to anybody who will be like me back then. My name now is Sas, and I will see you for the next video.